Very Terrible Podcast time. And I'm Jason.
And I'm Laurie.
And she's here, and she's on camera. This week's episode, I guess, if we did it every week, this episode is going to be about just marriage and life.
Sounds good.
She wanted to come and help support the podcast, and that's what she's doing here today. So we'll hope we have some fun, and you can join along. Let's get the music going, and let's see. Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, I don't know, February 1st? Saturday,
Yeah.
February 1st, 2025. It's the Very Terrible Podcast. How's everybody doing?
I'm good.
There you go. There's two of us. To the show, and the first time on YouTube will be Laurie.
That's me.
She's real. She's been on the show before, and she's always happy to help and happy to support. And actually, I think this is more your idea than mine.
Yeah.
You know, she came up...
I, with slight reluctance, offered to do it because of the not so much the voice part. I don't mind doing that, but the video. We'll have to see how this goes.
You might end up being famous.
Yeah. I noticed, though, when I look off to the side, when the song was playing, we both were going like this.
Like this. That's what we do. We dance. We dance with people. If you really look back, Dave does it too.
Okay. All right. Well,
everybody kind of does it.
It's sketchy.
It is sketchy. Yeah. And so she was on, let's see, you've been on, 2 or 3 episodes audio-wise before we got back to video. And the difference being is that, like, B, when she's on, she doesn't want to be on video at all, which is fine. So we put her off to the side. And then, so you're in the hot camera. You've actually made videos on YouTube before, right?
Yeah, but where am I supposed to be looking?
Well, it depends. I mean, you can look
should
at...
I look here? Should I look straight?
You can do whatever you want.
No, because then they just see...
Well, yeah, but that's what they see, right?
Oh.
That's what they see. So if you look at the camera and you point at them like this, like I'm pointing at you, YouTube fans.
Okay.
So there's the YouTube
again.
fans.
Let me see. Do it again.
Like if I point to them, that's the YouTube fans.
I'm
if I
just
point
looking
over
over there to
here,
see what it
it's
looks like.
the laptop's over on that side.
All right.
So I kind of, they like seeing behind the scenes stuff. That's why if you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can see some of the behind the scenes before and after every episode. You can kind of get they like the authentic part of it. Like when you watch,
that's the best part. Like before we were starting, I was working on my grocery. Oops, sorry, I hit.
It's all right.
My grocery list.
Yeah, I have a whole page of notes, and as I tend to over prepare for everything, and I looked it over and I said, "Well, look at that, you have your own notes." And she's like, "No, that's just the grocery list." So
because when we're done, I'm going to the store.
Right, real life takes over, and that's kind of the beauty of it all. Where we talked about people that we talk to and the people that get married and all the different marriage and tips advice that we come across. And some of it, so real life is just not what you see on television. And that's what it is. The highlight of the day will be the grocery list and, getting the weekend underway. Speaking of getting things underway, let's play some commercials. This episode of the Very Terrible Podcast is brought to you by South Florida Lift Stations. For all your lift station sales, service, and maintenance needs, call Josh at 239-707-3603. South Florida Lift Stations, the official sponsor of the Very Terrible Podcast. The Very Terrible Podcast can be found on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, YouTube, and wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you'd like to be a sponsor of the Very Terrible Podcast, you can message us on Facebook, Instagram, or email us at jdvtpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, we thank South Florida Lift Stations for their continued support and making this the best product it can be. So it's fun because we know Josh. I mean, Josh is family to us, and it's so much fun to have them involved with this, and we can't wait to have him and all his people on the show. So, so we were talking earlier about what to say on a podcast, and this is kind of a cool dynamic where I can talk to Laurie about things that I can't talk to Dave about things or talk to B about things. So we try to touch on just a handful of talking points that's just about husbands and wives and marriage and life and things of that nature where, the shortest version I can make of our story is that we met later in life. So like there was no high school sweetheart scenario. There was none of that. I think we were in our 30s when we met.
Yep.
So we had our own separate lives already established and then now brought everything together.
And surprisingly, neither one of us were married yet previously. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And neither one of us had kids, which is
Right.
kind of
Unheard of.
strange, I guess,
Yeah.
for a lot of people, because most of my close friends either had kids and were married or at least were married. So I was one of the later in life get married people. Just hadn't met you yet.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was meant to be.
Like that song.
Well, but here's the thing is, did you feel pressure from your friends like, oh, there was something wrong or with you or
No, I didn't feel pressure. I probably, looking back, felt like, what is the word? Not envious, but looking forward to when that would be my time for marriage and children.
Yeah,
Child,
makes sense.
because we only have one. But yeah, but not eager, not envious, but just anticipating when and if that was going to happen for me.
That's interesting because I always felt like for the girls especially, for the guys it's really a different look and feel, I think, but it always felt like the girls had pressure and all your girlfriends would go and be like married off one at a time. And then you'd be like, who's going to be the old maid? Who's going to be the old maid left behind that nobody wanted?
I might have been the old maid.
Well, I was always wondering that's interesting to see I always thought there'd be an undue pressure on young women when they feel like it's their time and like, they didn't get picked.
Not to delve into my past or anything, but I think had my upbringing been different, I may have been more eager, like, oh, when am I going to get married and start a family? But I think I was always very cautious because I didn't want the things that I saw around me for me to be one of those people. So I wasn't in a hurry to have a child with someone just for the sake of, oh, I'm pregnant, or being a single mom. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just trying to be very cautious about, am I making the best decisions?
Yeah, that makes
sense. And with
sense.
Marriage too. Like, again, we all know I was engaged before you, and that was a couple
no, they
times.
don't. They just found out.
Okay,
they just found out for the first time.
So, and it was more than once. And just, again, very cautious with making those decisions until I met you. And then it was like, bam, bam, bam.
Oh, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was absolutely weird.
Yeah. But anyway.
No, that's kind of cool how that's interesting like that. And for guys, it's really kind of different. It's like the guys will go off and get plucked away, married one at a time, but they just disappear from the scenario. And then you just kind of clump together with the rest of your single friends and go back to playing video games and drinking beer all night. There wasn't much of a sadness about it. It's like, okay, he's dead to us, moving on. And then you just kind of go with that. So if time travel were a real thing and you could go back to your 15-year-old self, right? So B is about that age. And if you could go back and be her age all over again. Now, granted, the world's completely different, right? So there were no cell phones like this. We had bag phones and we had like car phones that were attached to cars. But, what would you tell yourself at 15 years old that you wish you could have had now?
So let me step back for a minute. I know that, and I just want everyone else to know, I quickly read through the questions, but I honestly didn't put any thought into them so that this could be more spontaneous. Yeah. So I didn't think like, oh, I have an answer for this question.
Start reading off your hand.
So if I pause a little bit, that's why, because I'm genuinely having to think about these things. What would I tell my 15-year-old self? The first thing that comes to mind is your life will get better. And the nice thing for me as a parent to our daughter is I hope that she feels now like my life is great, not, oof, when is this going to get better? But that, sadly, in a way, is the biggest thing. But I'm very appreciative for how much better my life became once I had more control over it, which was when I was a little older.
Yeah. And I thought for me, Because the first place my place goes is stock tips. Go buy Apple. Apple was like $2 a share back in the day.
Yeah, or Amazon.
Oh, but Amazon when it was a bookstore? Yeah, I mean, we had no idea. But you can't do that, right? That's cheating. It's not part of the game. Even for me, I get cautious, right? Because I go down this rabbit hole and I think about it. And I go, yes, do that. Don't do this. Get a job that only makes you happy. Don't worry about it. The money will be there. Boom, boom, boom. And I go, you know, it's weird is because with me, where my brain goes is that there's a balance of if I were to go back and tell myself things and if I made decisions that are different, none of this would be here.
Right.
And that's what I worry about. But, like all the worrying, I would tell myself not to worry so much. And I try to tell myself that now and it doesn't work, I promise. But I would tell myself not to worry so much. I mean, I had a significant amount of failure in my younger years that brought me on this path that I'm on, which is fantastic now. But without having that, I wouldn't be here. So it's one of those, yeah, I made mistakes. Yes, some things happened. I wish it didn't. However, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. All the times where, from my past, I don't even remember if I've ever mentioned it on the show or not, where I left New York State at 20 years old with nothing besides $20,000 in credit card debt and a few worldly possessions, and just terrible with money, making bad decisions one after the other. And I'm like,
totally different than you are now.
yeah, exactly. Right. So, but I needed that. I needed to have that weird, the black cloud over my head of, bad credit card debt. Collectors would call me at my job when I was at Winn-Dixie. I was like, I would get in trouble at Winn-Dixie because I was getting too many phone calls. And I'm like, I don't want the phone calls. It's the credit card people looking for me. I don't know what to do. And I had to learn. I had to learn how to pay everything off. I had to learn how to save. I had to learn how to kind of establish a where now I don't have to worry about those things anymore. But I moved down here with absolutely nothing. And I went, well, I got to retire in Florida anyway. Might as well just stave a step. And then off I just went, willy nilly. So it all did work out. But as far as my 15-year-old self goes, that's why I'd be like, just stop worrying so much about everything. All the, I had to work 2 jobs when I got here to try to make ends meet, to buy my first house, to buy all these things. And just, I beat the crap out of myself at first,
I think the other thing I would tell myself, because thinking back, like I try to think of, 14, because that's how old our daughter is, for everyone who doesn't know, is I don't think I had like a lot of self-confidence, and to tell myself then you're going to get more self-confidence, like, and I don't even know how someone acquires that, if it's a learned skill or if it's just something that comes in time or experience.
I think in your story and a little bit in mine, I think there comes a point in your life, in our lives, where the safety net was gone. There was no safety net anymore. If you fail, it's just on you. And when you go through that over and over and over again, you learn self-reliance. And then through that self-reliance comes self-confidence.
Okay.
You just realize you're like, you know what? I am going to kick ass today because I have to. I don't have a choice and no one's going to save me. So this is how this is going to go.
Yeah. Well, and that sounds very logical for maybe how I acquired some of mine. But I'm definitely, back then, I did not have near the self-confidence that I have now.
Yeah, and ego is a big part of it too. I mean, a lot of mine was false self-confidence. Listen, for anybody who's ever met me and whoever is going to meet me in the future, I am a very big fan of me. So I will, there's no bigger fan of Jason Spinner than Jason Spinner. So I was, even in high school, I mean, I was confident. Man, I was confident on a lot of silly, ridiculous crap. I was confident I was going to be an NFL running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, I mean, but a skinny,
I wish.
Yeah, a skinny 6'2" white guy surprisingly didn't get drafted. So, but yeah, I had a lot of confidence, and then that kind of helped drive, or the ego, and then that ego helped drive that confidence, whether it be good or bad. There was a lot of times where I got myself into bad situations because of my ego, but you go through, you fail, you come back out the other side and go, oh, okay, I am going to be all right. Mm-hmm. So, and then same thing, like if I could go back and like one of the big ones that we deal with at the firehouse a lot now are the young men who are off getting married, and the advice that I give them. And like marriage and weddings is just a very different experience, I think, for brides and grooms. And if you could go back to your wedding day, or even like the point where you were planning your wedding especially, what things, looking back now, would you tell yourself? Like, young Laurie's going to be a bride. What good advice would you give?
This one is silly, but eat the food that was at your reception, because I don't think we ate.
No.
And not that we didn't have like a sit-down meal, because we got married on a cruise ship. We had like I think 97 people there before it left the port, and then a good handful came on the cruise with us. But I don't think we ate.
No,
And
we didn't.
We had food. I don't even know if I drank anything. Not that I drink
Right.
alcohol, but I I don't even know if we tried the cake.
We didn't.
I truly
We did
do
the
you remember?
ceremonial. We did the ceremonial thing, but we didn't get the cake till the next day when somebody saved. I think Katie
Okay.
saved it. Katie saved us
Oh, thank
cake and
God.
then gave
Good
it to
old
us.
Katie.
Yeah, Katie gave us the cake the next day, and that's the biggest thing too, right? It's very ceremonial. Go here, stand there, picture, do this, special dance, make a speech, boop, 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 and you get done, and you're like, oh God, it's over so fast. You don't get to do anything. It's your wedding was for everyone else almost, you know. So you're right. Not eating the food was actually really a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have liked to have eaten the food, which is funny to say, but yeah. Other than that, I don't know what was. Tell me again the question.
So
What
like,
would I do
yeah,
differently?
like, so
All
as far
right.
as like, you know, young Laurie is planning a wedding and making all and making the lists and making the picking the decorations or whatever it is that you did. And here's the thing I tell husbands is it's her day. It's the bride's day. Just be supportive. You don't need to pick a centerpiece until she tells you to. You don't need to do things unless she tells you to. Don't get in the way.
This isn't something that we could have done differently, but I would have liked to have had like all of our wedding pictures digitally.
Was that an option back
I
then?
don't think it was.
No, it was the CD. We have them on CD.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh
We've
my
got the
God,
actual.
That's
We've got the
terrible that I
CDs.
didn't know that.
Yeah. But
I
good
did
luck
not
finding
know
it. But
that.
good luck finding it. I mean, I think our old computer still has the disk drive in it. But good luck finding a CD player you can put them in.
We need to look at those.
Yeah.
I legit did not know that. All I thought we had was the book for the pictures that we paid that were printed that we put in.
I remember it being you got that as part of a deal because something wasn't advertised properly. So we were supposed to get the disc and the book, and
Do
then
you
they.
know where the disc is?
Yeah, I think it's up
Oh,
there on the
boy.
top of the.
Okay.
I think it is.
That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, there we go.
We were a lot younger back then.
Yeah, it's been the years go by so
But anyway,
quick.
what was your answer?
Mine would have been once, you know, like I tell the guys now, I tell them, I said, don't get in the way. It's the bride's day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be supportive in every of the decisions. Doesn't matter if you like it or not. You're not going to remember this day anyway. You know, you're gonna know what happened, but it's so ceremonial and you get drug around.
Well, and I may have been an atypical bride because I didn't. One of the reasons we got married on the cruise ship before it left the port was I didn't want to have to go taste cakes at different places or meet with DJs or pick out flowers from multiple places. I just wanted, here's your list of options. Go ahead and pick from these. So it was more,
Streamlined.
yes, that whole experience of, the wedding stress. I probably had some. You probably did too, but I didn't have the feeling of, oh my God, I just can't wait till this wedding because I want all this preparation to be over with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then just a shout out because I'm thinking of it. Alicia did my hair, which was a huge help because that was the other thing. Like, oh, what am I going to do with my hair? So she did a great job.
I felt
on
the
my
same way
hair.
with mine. It was like,
Yeah,
what was I gonna do with it?
So pretty
It's
much
amazing.
it was a tad longer then, not much.
Not much.
Which is funny because when you're like, oh, my hair's so long, and I look at you and I'm like, it doesn't really look that different, but it's your head, not mine. But anyway, I'm not even sure where I was going with that other than
Alicia helped with the hair, yeah.
Alicia helped with my hair. I went to one dress shop, found the dress that I wanted, got that dress. Katie came with me for that. And then the invitations, and we made the invitations. It was Katie, me, and I believe Mary, her mom, Katie's mom, helped with that. And that was like the biggest thing. Other than that, it was okay. Pick from these types of cakes. Do you want music? Do you want this or that? And yes, no. And
Yeah, and do you ever talk to your girlfriends about like the price of weddings? Outrageous.
No.
Outrageous. We had a guy just got married at work a couple months ago, $30,000. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Hopefully the next one will be cheaper.
oh,
The
terrible.
firemen have a hard time staying married. They get divorced
you
quite a
better
bit.
watch out then.
That's true.
I'm kidding. No. What? How many? We've been married in
2006.
2006.
Nine-
All right,
Well, it'll be 19.
19 years
Yeah.
coming up. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. So
You're in it for the long haul now.
yeah, you're stuck. There's a no return policy after a certain amount of time. Even though it's we're all broken and old, can't see anymore. What you say?
Speak for yourself.
I know. Men age. But see, that's another thing too. It's like women and men. When they age, it's not even fair. It's not fair at all. Men get distinguished and women turn into old hags. It's not fair. I mean, I can just sit there and let myself go and splash water on my face in the morning, and that's good enough. It's not fair to you guys. Oh my goodness. Well, and then like in our scenario too, is like we were at a whole different setup. Like we bought our house before we were married, which was a point of not
on
like,
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, on Valentine's Day. But it not like it wasn't a point of contention per se. But boy, I tell you what, people had opinions. All kinds of people had opinions, and even
what's
Dave.
the saying you tell me? Opinions are like
Assholes.
and
Everyone's got
one,
one, and they all stink. Yeah, but yeah, that's okay. That's just a screen.
Okay.
And then,
all right, just making sure.
Yep.
I'm new to this.
No, me too.
Video.
Every once in a while, the computer times out and the screen goes black. But yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, we bought a house before that. Something that we do, I think that's kind of cool, that works out really well for us is that we were established adults when we met, right? So we had all of our own money, all of our own savings, and everything else is separate. And we just kept it that way. And like when I talk to the younger couples, especially when they get together, everyone piles their money together and then they'll bicker and squabble about, well, he went into the credit card and bought this and she went into the checking account and bought that, and they don't talk and on and on. We don't have any of that. We don't have it. We have an established household budget. It's set up. The household bills get paid. All of our other money is separate. Amazon shows up every day. I don't have to worry about it. It doesn't really affect.
Not every day.
It's
a lot of days, but it's not.
He's like, hey, Jason, how's that?
But it's a convenience.
It is.
I love having Amazon. If I'm like, oh, I want Laffy Taffy banana sticks, I just go click, click, and they're delivered. I can't even find them in the store. So thank goodness I can do that. Yeah. Anyway.
No, but that's what it is. And that's so the two things married couples fight about is money and sex. And I figured out the money part. So that's why I tell everybody. I said, the sex part, I can't help you with your advice, but you guys do what you need to do.
Yeah. All I'll say on the sex part is men typically want way more.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
From my experience, than seems practical with life, with a child and work and things that have to be done. But good for you, because I always know that you're attracted to me. So anyway, I digress. Go back.
Yes, absolutely. I am very much attracted to you. Let's see. And then, and I would also tell that young married version of myself is like, get all the stuff done you want to get done. And which we did, I think, before B came along, and I think that was a big thing too. Is like, there was no, oh, we're having a kid. Oh, I can't do X, Y, Z. We did everything. We went on trips and cruises, and we bought our house. We bought our cars. We paid for all these things. We had savings. We checked all these like weird boxes that you wouldn't think about. But then you meet like a young couple, or even a couple that has, their kids before they're married, and you're like, whoa. And I'm looking like, boy, my scenario is way easier than that, so.
Well, and we waited, 3 years
before 3.5
we started trying to have kids, because I think for me at least, and you at the time, unless maybe you felt differently and I didn't know, our life is wonderful now, and it's such a blessing to have Bella, but we were like, oh, our life is so good. Are we ready? Do we want to bring a baby into this, knowing it's going to change the dynamic? And I think we would say, okay, in 3 months, we're going to talk about this again and see.
We're very structured. We're a very structured couple. We both have
trying. And then finally it was like, oh God, I'm not getting any younger. Like, we're going to have to do this soon, because if there's any complications, or if this takes a long time, which it didn't, I think once I went off my birth control, it was like month 3.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, because I had always heard, not sure if it's true, but if you're on birth control for a long time, that it may be harder to get pregnant, but I don't think that was the case. So thankfully, we have our little blessing.
Yeah, daughter. And I think that is funny how you brought that up, because I tell her I tell B all the time. I said there was an actual conversation at a dinner table that says, hey, are we doing this or not? Because it's like yes or no, and we're if you feel like you're on the clock, because there are a lot of complications that come with older couples trying to have kids. But no, that was the thing too. Is like there was never a point where like we made that decision knowing that's what we wanted. And it's funny how you mentioned it too. I like how you mentioned it, because like for the way you just described it, that's what I would describe like the bottom up mentality of looking at things. Like, we're going to bring a baby into the family. We're going to do this. And I'm thinking the other way. I'm thinking from the top down going, man, this world is really screwed up. If I want to bring a kid into this world, so you were
Yeah.
looking at it from the family outwards. I was looking at it from the world inwards. But I think between the both of us, it looks like we made the right choice.
Well,
And
and in an odd way, thinking about like my upbringing, which everything there was spontaneous. Like I had very little control over anything because of the parents that I had or lack thereof. So I think as I got older, knowing I didn't want that anymore.
right.
I think that led to me being as structured as I am because
Hmm.
I look back and I'm like, how did I turn out this way when the environment around me was so different? And I just think that I saw what I didn't want. And then I said, okay, I'm going to do everything possible to not have that controlled chaos
Yeah.
in my adult life. But yes, I'm very structured, very much a planner, except when it comes to vacations. If anybody's like, hey, you want to go on vacation?
Oh, yeah.
I could care less where we're going. Tell me what ticket to buy, when to be there, what to pack,
Yeah.
and I will
That
go.
is true. That is one of your
But
qualities.
yeah, regular life, I do like looking ahead. Okay, what's on the agenda this week? What do we have to do? Uh, anyway,
Well, and you'd mentioned a lot of the stuff that you do, especially with the environment that you provide for B, is that I can see when you make decisions that you're going, not like mine, not like my past. And, a lot of things you've mentioned was when she always was, we like to have her friends come here. Like this is going to be the meeting house. We bring the friends here. We have social events here. We make it very comfortable for all the friends that show up. And that's something that maybe you didn't have. So that's why you provide that for her. And the same thing, even the stuff that I do, a lot of times is like my stuff's more like really rigid. Mine's like, oh, education about money. Like when we had COVID, I had B in here at 10 years old. She was picking her own stocks for her own stock account because I'm like, these are the things I wish I knew back then. And that's what it is. So I think between the both of us, we've really got a good environment for her to be successful. So,
definitely, or at least I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll see. So far, so good.
so far,
So
so
far, so
good.
good.
Yep. Let's see. What would you say are the best and worst parts of being married?
Oh, oh, the best thing, of course, is you.
Oh,
Uh,
hang on, I got a
that
button. I got a button. There you go. Correct answer.
that nobody knows me better, and I can totally be myself, especially after all these years. I don't have to think, oh, I just offended him by what I said, or um, I can easily apologize if I screw up. That's very nice, not having to feel like you're walking on eggshells of, oh, just anyway. I think we not that we don't have disagreements sometimes, but I
Sure.
think we get through them quickly. We don't let things fester.
Right.
The worst part of being married, I think I'd like to take. I Not that I'm adventurous by any stretch, but I would like to. It sometimes when it comes to like vacations and things, I think you're more financially conscious of
Hmm.
things, and I'm more like, let's go.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
can we go? And you're more like, okay, where can we go? But how much does this cost? And I'm thinking of the experience.
Hmm.
And for me, it's not that we're like we have money growing off trees, but I'm like, we'll find a way to make it work. Whereas you're more, let's think about it more and maybe more reluctant.
Yeah.
Not maybe. You
No,
definitely are
no,
more
I am.
reluctant
Yeah,
too.
I'm a lot more reluctant.
I think my first thing is, yay, let's go have some fun. And yours is, how are we going to pay for this?
Yeah, how do I get the time off work? How am I going to
Yeah.
pay for it? Who's going
Yeah.
to watch the dog? Bah, 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 bah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, and then so for me, that's one of the best things about it is because in a marriage, you have to have somebody who challenges you once in a while and makes you get outside your comfort zone. And that's what you do for me. So like just talking about a thing like a vacation, it's like that little yin yang sign there where it does the little circle with the swirly in the middle, right? Um, there's things that I do that I'm like, okay, it checks my boxes, but then I'm like, man, I'm really not comfortable doing whatever it is. But then you make me go outside that comfort zone and I see that it's okay. And I went, all right, had I not had that, then I wouldn't have that experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the best parts about being married is that, yeah, you can have someone who can give you that safety net to say, okay, you can go outside your comfort zone. Or even like you being here today is you supporting my crazy idea, since I can't get on the real radio, that, you know, this is it. So you're going to help support me on that. So that's kind of like, you know, maybe you're not comfortable being on the camera, but you're
No,
here and
not
you're
really.
yeah,
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not
but you're
yet
doing
anyway.
it, right? So that's kind of the beauty of it. I agree with the whole thing about being, you can be yourself. You know, it's fun having someone you can poop in front of and talk.
Not, don't make it sound like that happens often,
No,
but if we happen to be like, hey, Jason, and he's in the other room on the toilet, it's like, oh, okay, I'll come back. And
we have open doors when it's just us in the house. When I'm not at my best, or I had a bad day at work, or if I'm not the best me I can be, I have someone who can forgive me for that, who understands and who gives me the time and the space to be able to recharge and come back and do better the next time.
and then the worst?
Some of the worst parts about being married is that, at least for me, is that I always feel like I have to provide everything that everybody wants all the time. And there's times because we want different things, and you don't have to go any further than looking at, like, say, our house to realize that there's very different things, right? Like, this is not a huge house. I know I always say it's a 40,000 square foot recording studio. I'm not going to turn the camera around. It's not. So, but you know, it's a small, it's a humble home. Like it's very nice for it gives us what we need. It's missing a lot of definitely what you want, and some of the things what I want, right? I mean, like, to have an extra bedroom where I can just leave all the stuff up all the time would be amazing, and to have that. And then, but like she just mentioned earlier, that's the yin yang part, right? So she's like, "Yay, we're gonna have house shopping." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I don't want to work anymore, and I can't afford another mortgage. This is not going to work." So I think that to me is one of the hardest parts about being married, is that constant feeling of, did I do everything I can do? Did I give all myself I could to that person who decided to invest in me? And then, you know, there are times where you just feel like you just didn't, at least for me, like there's times I feel like I just didn't do enough or didn't get enough, where, like, when I was single, it didn't matter. I mean, granted, I always cleaned after myself. There was, like, me with the cleaning is a huge thing around here.
I think that's one of your outlets, though. Like when
Yeah,
you're stressed, frustrated, I think it helps you process to make things neat and tidy that are within your span of control.
It's in my control. Yes, and control issues is a huge thing for me. Like, that's why I don't like flying, because they don't let me steer the plane no matter how many times I ask. So yeah, I think that to me is like otherwise that's probably only the harder part about being married, because I mean, we figured everything else out. I think, you know, as far as just the, you know, just not being able to, you know, just snap my fingers and make everything happen. Sometimes that kind of sucks. So, and then so raising children, right? So we obviously we're trying to do our best with raising children. The challenges of raising children. There's not a book. I know there's so many books on the shelf. You go to Barnes & Noble, there's sections of books about, like, how to raise kids and this about raising kids. Nope. You can
you can learn as you go with a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. You know, I'm assuming that, like, I guess we know our normal, but I'm assuming on the average it's normal.
Well, and we just have one child. For people who have more than one with different personalities and different dislikes and different interests, and this one eats this, but this one can't have that, or just the sheer trying to keep everyone happy, I guess, between myself, you, B, that can be challenging, and it's just three of us.
Yeah.
And that was, not to change the subject, but like we'd always planned, I think again, planning on just having one child. So it worked out the way we wanted it to. Thankfully, it wasn't like we wanted 4 kids and could only have one, but it's a challenge with one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's a great kid.
Yeah.
But so many things have come up as her mom that I never even knew I'd have to think about, like to make a decision or try to navigate a pathway, you know, like her couple broken arms and the surgery and the second surgery, and just trying to figure out what was best for her with knowledge, but also limited knowledge, because it was just nothing that could be put in a book.
Right. Yeah, and that's what, and we're, and like you'd mentioned, we're very fortunate. I mean, we have the ability to get her everything she needs to be successful. We keep her happy, healthy, and safe. Well, happy within reason. She's a teenager, so but we have that ability to where there's a lot of families that don't, so that's kind of like the groundwork of like, okay, even when we have not so great days, I'm like, okay, we're still doing better than a lot of the people I know or a lot of the people in the world. So, we have the ability to do that. But yeah, and it's weird is like, especially like from the dad point of view, like now as the years go on, there are girl problems that come up that I can't help with. Right. And it's no different than when we talk about like their homework. And for all of you out there that have kids, you're going to start to realize that like there's going to come a time when you can help with math homework when it's kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth grade. And all of a sudden, that math homework becomes a little bit more difficult. Then you go back to YouTube and you go to your books and you're like, how the hell am I supposed to help this kid with the homework? To the point now is like, I'm almost out. Like there's a whiteboard in B's room that we do math on. And it's to the point of like, okay, it's to the point of I've watched a YouTube video. I don't remember how to do this. Let me see if I could figure it out and help out. And very soon, I think we're out.
Yeah, but we're very fortunate that she is so smart that she doesn't need a lot of help.
Yeah, she doesn't.
No, she
She actually helps
doesn't.
teach her friends, which is hilarious. She helps teach her friends, and I think the teacher had her help. One of the substitutes had her help teach in the class not too long ago.
And that's something when you have kids, you don't know what kind of child you're going to get. Are you going to get an outgoing one or an introverted one? Are you going to get one who is smart or someone who maybe has challenges that you have to help them work through that? But every child or person has their gifts and then also has their areas that they need help with.
Yeah. And then as the years go by, the shift of help is more on you than it has been before, because it's like, it's a lot of girl problems, and there's new clothing that I don't know how to wash it right. And then there's different like fashion. I don't know fashion. This is, yes, very fashionable t-shirt that you could also buy. We're going to set up a sticker mule store pretty soon.
I didn't put mine on.
That's all right. But, so I help with the money, and I help teach her how to drive. And and at the end of the whole thing really is I just want to put out a good person into the world. Mm-hmm. Once again, it's that world outlook looking in, man, the world is screwed up.
A self-reliant
yeah.
person who is going to be respectful and kind and have a peaceful, successful life is what I want for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, and one of the new dynamics that we face, and I'm sure all of you who have teenagers face it well, is the new world of social media that we did not have as kids.
Yeah.
When somebody didn't like you at school, you had like the rumor mill and the kids would talk or whatever it was. And I was like that. I was like the emo goth kid before there was emo goth. Like I would wear black everything every day. I wore a Pittsburgh Steelers hat, a Pittsburgh Steelers shirt, and black corduroy pants every single day. That was my outfit. I didn't fit in really well with a lot of people until I got into like the latter half of high school. And, but then we didn't have social media, right? So like at the end of the day, you just went home, or you went home and you played Nintendo, or I had a job earlier on. So I just went to work where you have separate lives almost. But now with social media, this stuff follows these poor kids around.
Yeah, social media is good in many aspects, but horrible in others.
Yeah.
And the bullying that can take place on social media, I can't even imagine for a kid, just the constant in your face. You can get it by text. You can get it by Instagram, Snapchat.
God help you if they find a picture of you that you don't like.
Yeah.
It is everywhere.
It's you just can't get away from it unless you turn your phone off. And then I think kids or teenagers in particular feel like they don't want to turn their phone off because then they're going to miss out on something, like they won't be in the know. And not that as an adult it's a whole lot better, but I think as adults we're better about putting boundaries, like, okay, I'm going to go put my phone away and I'm not going to touch it for 2 hours, which is very hard to do. But I also think, well, that'll be a topic for another day, social media and how they make it addictive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for addictive personalities that people can scroll for hours and hours and hours and it consumes them. But anyway, back to the screen time for kids. I think it should be limited within reason, but you also don't want to shelter them so much that they turn 18. Now they've got their phone and they're going bonkers.
Yeah.
And then they're resentful because you didn't let them have the phone and all the things that they missed out on. And but I think one of the definite downsides is so many kids don't know how to just sit and be,
Right.
like be bored or
Yeah.
just peacefully sit for 5 minutes. You know, when you look around a lobby in a waiting room, everyone's on their phone. You know, it's like, don't make eye contact. Just act like you're doing something. Whereas before, in the old days,
Yeah, you had to read a
maybe
magazine. It was
would
highlights.
smile. Yeah, it
You
was.
had to read
Yeah,
Highlights
and that
magazine.
was a good magazine, and,
Yeah.
and I think that was great
Yep.
for kids. But yeah, they definitely can't get away from it. Every family handles it differently. I don't know what the right answer is. It's still so new. Hopefully 50 years from now, there will be more studies on the outcomes of children and teens on any type of device, whether it's for social media or watching YouTube or something else altogether. But I, in a way, I wish Bella didn't have the exposure to a phone, uh, so that she wouldn't have to worry about things like the bullying. A lot of good comes from it, but then there's also a lot of negative.
Absolutely. And
having
that's
a
what I was just
phone.
going to say is one of the things that can come from it, and you have to go through the gauntlet of dealing with it, is that you, as an adult, I don't care what people think. I'm sitting here on a camera going off to YouTube where everybody at work go and turn it on a big TV and I'll take turns laughing at me. And to be honest with you, I don't care. It took a long time. But like I said earlier, I wasn't popular as a kid. I didn't fit in a lot of social circles. So being rejected was something I learned pretty quick and often. So, but then I got to be an adult and I realized, oh, I am self-reliant. Oh, I can pay my own bills. Oh, these people aren't paying my bills. They can go
Yeah.
eat a
They
bag of
don't
dicks.
matter as much as you
Yeah, they
thought
really
did.
don't. And unfortunately, the kids have got to learn to get through that. And when they do, they're going to come out stronger on the other side. But hopefully they don't get too beat up in the gauntlet of social media to have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did a good job. That's the list.
Oh,
We already did the
Oh,
wedding
wow.
one was
Okay.
we did up there. So
all right. Yeah, we kind of.
I think we did a good job.
All right. Well,
Look
I
at
did
you.
too.
Let's watch
It
this.
wasn't too scary.
See, I got to kiss my co-host, even though Dave won't. Maybe he will. I don't know. We haven't.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No,
Are
I
we
think
ready to
I
wrap
think
up?
this might be fun. I think we can revisit this once a month, once every
Yeah.
couple months or whatever,
And
and
maybe you ask your listeners if there's anything they want us to talk about,
Q&A with
whether it's
Laurie and
being
Jason.
married, not being married.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we could have our
any
own, like, was it
topics.
not Dr. Ruth? Who's the other one? Dear Abby
Oh, yeah.
podcast column.
Yeah.
You ask questions, we give answers. We will change the
Yeah,
names.
that's good. We could do that.
I like it.
Yeah.
Not that anybody really wants our advice. I give advice all the time. No one ever listens.
Well, you can give advice, doesn't mean they have to take it, but sometimes a new perspective on things
Absolutely.
is what someone may need to hear.
Well, thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it. But this has been a lot of fun. I think this is something that we will
Go easy
absolutely...
on the comments if there's any feedback
Yeah,
about
click like and subscribe. Send
me.
it to your friends. Yeah.
So I come back.
Yeah. I'm
If you
going
don't
to come
see
back.
me again, you'll know why.
Yeah, it's your fault if she doesn't come back. All right. Well, it's been another episode of the Very Terrible Podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Laurie.
And this has been a Very Terrible Podcast. Health, wealth, and happiness. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
And there we go. So the audio part is done. We're still on YouTube, right? So this is the after show. It's hot in here. You were right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, Laura had said before, she goes, it's going to get hot in there.
So
Like,
turn the air down. We're in a room with the door shut.
Yeah, no, so it is quite warm in here. So I don't know. But you can't really do a fan because if I do the fan, it blows wind on all the noise.
No.
You did great.
Oh, thanks.
You did great. God.
Thanks,
And I think
Wesley.
the one comment that's going to come out of this, which I can almost promise you is that this is the first show where I didn't have to carry anything. Normally, like, I'll get comments, like when I was on the Cape Cod one, I didn't let Ian talk at all. And then, like, somebody mentioned, like, well, when I had with Dave when he was here, he's like, you didn't let Dave talk at all.
Oh, well, maybe you're more cognizant because I'm your wife.
Well, you have interesting
Like,
things to say. So.
I don't know about that, but I think you're probably like trying to, not that you don't want to please your friends too or other people, but I think me especially as your wife, you're like, oh, let me make sure I give her enough,
Well, you're very good.
whatever it is.
That's probably where B gets
Maybe
it from.
we'll be the, I don't know, we can be the next Kelly and Mark on
Oh,
a
I like
TV
it.
show. Oh my God, that would be.
Could you imagine?
No, I couldn't.
Right. Every day, every day you'd have to find something to talk about. That's the hard part. Hey, good morning. We're still in Southwest Florida. Traffic's still backed up. It's
Yeah, we'd have
942
to be
degrees
doing-
outside, and it's going to rain this afternoon
Yeah,
at 4.
we'd have to be going on more trips, so we'd have more to talk about.
Well, we have to get, it's
Oh, and
we
a
have-
bigger house. if I'm going to do
You're
this
going to have to ask
more,
the corporate
we're gonna
sponsors for
have to
that.
have
You're going to have the
a
corporate sponsors.
studio room, or not even a dedicated studio room, but another room that we can leave stuff set up. That
Yeah, just
maybe
walk in
my
and click and go.
Peloton bike can go in. We can. I have visions of what we can do.
I have visions. I have invoices. I got.
You too. I'm going to charge you for being on this show
You should.
today.
Oh, it's a tax write-off. I don't know how yet. We got to
Yeah.
become. We got to.
I don't know. Put me on the payroll.
We're got to make a real company out of this at some point. But yeah, and then we'll be able to write all this
All
stuff
right.
off.
So this part here
Is
was
they'll be on YouTube.
recorded
Yeah.
for YouTube.
But not on the audio. The audio, when you heard the music go
Okay.
off and it
All right.
stopped, so the
Okay.
audio part's done. That's going to go
Okay.
on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
Okay.
It drives me crazy when I do that. She's like, you just
Oh.
keep plugging everything. You got to keep
You
plugging
have to.
everything. Yeah.
If we make it big, well, if you make it big someday, I'm not going to say we because I'm not quite sure about all this yet.
Oh, it's French for you and me, right? French for you and me.
Not sure of my involvement
Well,
long term, but
you-
we'll see.
Yeah, it could be your new job. You
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, it could.
Well, we're going to upload this. It's Saturday, February 1st. I have no idea. We're going to try to upload this thing today. We got the new internet. It should work. We should be able to get it up today. So thank you all for joining us again. We hope to see you again real soon.
Bye.
And then I click the stop button.